The Last White Man is Unremarkable. Part 1. The Notice. Chapter 1. The Update. The notification arrived at 08:14, time-stamped and formatted like all the others. Elias Rowan saw it only because his screen was already open. He was reviewing a maintenance schedule for the Eastern Water Grid, cross-checking projected pipe fatigue against last year's rainfall data. The work required attention, not urgency. He had learned to prefer tasks that did not escalate. The notification appeared in the corner of the interface, unobtrusive. A pale gray rectangle. No sound accompanied it. Subject: Profile Review. Source: National Demographic Registry. Priority: Low action, required. Acknowledgement. Elias did not click it immediately. He finished adjusting a column, saved the file, and closed the report. Only then did he open the message. The body contained 3 sentences. This notice is to inform you that your demographic profile has been flagged for routine review. No immediate action is required. You will be contacted if clarification becomes necessary. There was a reference number beneath the text, followed by a hyperlink labeled View Details. The language was familiar. He had received similar notices before, though not from this department. Licensing renewals, tax confirmations, address verifications. Systems occasionally required alignment. He clicked the link. A new window opened. The interface was the standard registry layout. Clean lines, neutral colors, collapsible sections. At the top, his name appeared, correctly spelled, along with his date of birth and current address. Below that, a series of demographic fields were listed, some filled, some grayed out. He scrolled. Most entries were unchanged. Citizenship, verified. Employment sector, public infrastructure oversight. Household size, 1. Health indicators, within expected range. Halfway down the page, one field was highlighted with a faint amber border. Classification, pending review. Elias paused. The cursor blinked beside the label, though there was no text box to enter anything. He hovered over the field. A small tooltip appeared. This category is undergoing structural update. Review status does not imply irregularity. He scrolled further. There was no explanation, no instructions. At the bottom of the page, a button read, "Acknowledge and continue." He clicked it. The window closed. That was all. He sat back in his chair and waited for something else to happen. Nothing did. His inbox remained unchanged. The clock advanced by 1 minute. Outside, traffic continued at its usual pace. A low, continuous sound filtered through the window. Elias returned to his work. Later that morning, during a scheduled break, he stood in the kitchenette with a cup of coffee and glanced at the communal notice board. Someone had posted a reminder about fire safety training. Another notice advertised a voluntary seminar on inclusive design practices. The language was general, procedural. He scanned it briefly and turned away. At his desk again, he tried to recall whether he had ever seen the phrase structural update used in reference to a demographic category. He could not remember a specific instance. That did not trouble him. Many changes passed through the system without attracting attention. Entire datasets were revised quietly each year. Terminology evolved. Fields merged or disappeared. He opened the registry interface again, navigating manually this time rather than through the notification link. He searched for the highlighted field. It appeared the same. Pending review. No additional information. There was no option to submit documentation. No explanation of criteria. No deadline. He closed the interface. At 12:30, Elias ate lunch at his desk. He read a short article on municipal transport funding, then closed it halfway through. His phone buzzed once with a message from Jonah, asking whether he would be free later in the week. Elias replied that he would be. In the afternoon, he attended a routine meeting about drainage upgrades. The discussion focused on timelines and cost overruns. No one raised their voice. Decisions were deferred. Notes were taken. At no point did Elias think about the notification. It was only on his commute home that he noticed the first absence. The audio announcement on the train, usually verbose, had been shortened. A phrase he had heard for years was missing. He could not immediately identify which one. The message conveyed the same information. Next stop, estimated delay, platform changes, but the cadence felt altered, as if a clause had been removed. He listened carefully on the following announcement. It sounded normal. He dismissed the thought. At home, he checked his mail. There were 2 items, a utility bill and a generic flyer about a local council consultation. He placed them on the table and did not open either. He cooked a simple meal and ate it standing up, then washed the dishes. Later, seated on the sofa, he opened the registry notice again on his tablet. He reread the 3 sentences. They did not change. Elias considered contacting the registry directly. There was a general inquiry link at the bottom of the page. He hovered over it, then stopped. The notice explicitly stated that no action was required. Initiating contact might create an unnecessary process. He had learned that systems responded best when approached on their own terms. He closed the tablet. Before going to bed, he checked the news. Headlines scrolled past. Infrastructure investment. Regional elections. A cultural exhibition opening in the north. Nothing appeared out of place. He slept without interruption. The next morning, the notification icon was gone. There was no follow-up message. The registry interface showed his profile as active. The highlighted field remained, still marked pending review, but it was no longer emphasized. Elias dressed, ate breakfast, and left for work. On the way, he passed a digital billboard displaying a rotating set of public service messages. One of them had been updated. He noticed this only because the color palette was slightly different. The text encouraged participation in community planning initiatives. The language was broad, inclusive, and nonspecific. He stood waiting for the crossing signal to change and looked at the people around him. They were of varying ages and appearances. No one was paying attention to the billboard. No one seemed altered by it. At his desk, Elias logged in and resumed his audit. At 10:02, he received another notification. This one was from the same registry. Subject: Review. Logged priority: Informational. The message was shorter than the first. Your profile review has been logged. No discrepancies were found requiring action. There was no reference number this time. No link. Elias acknowledged it and returned to his work. He did not feel relieved. He did not feel concerned. The absence of reaction registered vaguely, like a system response that failed to trigger a corresponding human state. In the afternoon, he checked the registry once more. The highlighted field was still there. The tooltip remained unchanged. Structural update. He wondered briefly what structure was being updated. The thought did not persist. There was no data to support it. That evening, while preparing dinner, he noticed that a questionnaire he had filled out annually for work training had been revised. One section was shorter. A category had been removed. He could not remember what it had been. He submitted the form and received confirmation. Thank you. Your response has been recorded. Nothing else followed. Elias ate, cleaned up, and sat quietly for a while. The day had passed without incident. He reviewed it mentally, searching for a moment that might stand out. There was none. Before turning off the light, he made a brief note in his personal log, a habit he maintained irregularly. Registry update received. No action required. He did not add commentary. The system, it seemed, had noticed him. It had not required anything further. Chapter 2. No alarm bells. Elias waited for a reaction. He did not expect panic exactly. Panic implied sound, movement, an escalation of signals. He expected something closer to disturbance, a tightening of attention, a sense of priority shifting. He expected the world, or at least his small part of it, to lean slightly toward the anomaly that had been noted. It did not. The morning after the update unfolded according to schedule. His alarm activated at 06:45. He silenced it on the second tone, as usual, and lay still for a few seconds, listening for any change in the ambient sounds of the building. There was none. Pipes hummed. A neighbor's door closed somewhere down the corridor. Traffic rose gradually outside. He stood, showered, dressed. The mirror reflected the same information it always had. He did not examine himself for difference. There was no guidance on what difference would look like. In the kitchen, the kettle reached boiling point and clicked off. He poured water over coffee grounds and waited the prescribed time before pressing the filter. The process required attention, but not thought. He preferred routines that did not invite interpretation. While eating breakfast, he checked his phone. No new messages, no alerts. The registry notification from the previous day had not been followed by anything else. The icon did not reappear. There were no reminders. Elias considered, briefly, the possibility that he had misunderstood the notice. He reopened the message from his archive notifications. The wording remained unchanged. Routine review. No immediate action required. It did not suggest urgency. It did not suggest error. He left the apartment at 07:52. On the street, people moved with their usual density. The cafe on the corner was open. Someone stood outside reading from a handheld screen, scrolling with a practiced thumb. A delivery vehicle blocked part of the road, its hazard lights flashing. The lights had nothing to do with him. They signaled only their own presence. Elias waited at the crossing. The signal turned green. He crossed. At the station, the electronic boards updated. Train times adjusted themselves by small increments. No announcements referenced the registry. No instructions were issued. No one was asked to stand aside. He boarded the train and found a seat. Across from him, a woman read a report on her tablet. The title was visible for a moment before she tilted the screen away. It concerned coastal resilience planning. Elias had read similar documents. They were precise and forward-looking. They did not dwell on origins. The train departed. Elias watched the reflection of the carriage interior slide along the darkened window. He expected, at some point, a feeling to surface, something delayed but definite. It did not arrive. The absence of response did not feel like calm. It felt like administrative neutrality applied to a human moment. At work, he logged in and opened his task list. 3 items were due for review. He selected the first and began. Mid-morning, a system-wide email circulated reminding staff to complete a revised compliance module. Elias opened it. The language was standard. One sentence noted that certain categories had been streamlined for clarity. There was no list of what had been removed. He completed the module in less than 15 minutes. One section was shorter than he remembered. It asked fewer questions. He did not know which ones were gone. After submitting the final page, a confirmation appeared. Your compliance status is current. There was no additional feedback. At 10:30, Elias attended a departmental briefing. The agenda was distributed in advance. The meeting proceeded item by item. At no point did anyone reference demographic data, identity classifications, or registry updates. The discussion remained focused on timelines, resource allocation, and risk mitigation. He listened, took notes, and spoke once, to clarify a projection figure. His voice sounded the same to him. No one reacted differently. During a pause, he scanned the faces around the table. They were attentive, neutral. Some looked tired. Some looked engaged. None looked expectant. Elias waited for the moment when someone would notice. He did not know what noticing would entail. He had no model for it. He only knew that if something significant had occurred, it would require acknowledgement. Nothing occurred. At lunch, he sat with Jonah in the common area. They spoke about a delayed permit and a restaurant Jonah had visited recently. Elias mentioned the registry notice in passing, not as an announcement, but as a fact. They flagged my profile for review, he said. Routine, apparently. Jonah nodded. That happens. They're restructuring a lot of the back-end systems. Did you get one? Elias asked. No, Jonah said. But I had a different notice last year. Took months. Then it just cleared. That was it? Elias asked. That was it, Jonah said. They returned to their meals. The conversation moved on. Elias observed his own reaction to the exchange. He had not been reassured or dismissed. The information had simply been absorbed and categorized as unremarkable. That categorization seemed to apply not only to the notice, but to him. In the afternoon, Elias checked the registry again. The highlighted field remained unchanged. Pending review. The tooltip still referenced a structural update. There was no countdown, no progress indicator. He closed the page. He waited. He waited for an email requesting documentation. He waited for a summons. He waited for a call. He waited for the subtle shift in tone that would indicate concern. None arrived. By the end of the workday, Elias began to consider that the absence of response might itself be the response. The system had not failed to escalate. It had evaluated and decided that escalation was unnecessary. On his commute home, he listened to the station announcements more closely than before. They were efficient. They omitted certain phrases he remembered vaguely. He could not be certain what had changed. The information content was intact. The framing had narrowed. At home, he reviewed a public dataset related to urban demographics, a habit he had developed out of professional interest. The tables were intact. The charts were clear. One variable appeared to have been consolidated into another. He traced the footnote. Categories updated to reflect current population structures. There was no historical comparison provided. Elias closed the dataset. He sat at the table and considered the idea of being last. The word surfaced briefly, then receded. It did not attach to anything concrete. There was no evidence presented to support it. No authority had stated it. The system had not assigned him that status. He reminded himself that speculation without data was unproductive. Before bed, he checked the registry one final time. The profile loaded quickly. The amber border around the field was less noticeable now. He wondered if it had faded, or if he was paying less attention to it. There were no alerts. He turned off the screen. In the dark, Elias waited for the internal alarm he assumed would accompany an event of consequence. His body did not supply one. His thoughts did not accelerate. His breathing remained even. Eventually, he slept. In the morning, the city would function as it always had. Systems would update quietly. Language would continue to refine itself. Decisions would be made without ceremony. Elias would be present for all of it. The alarm bells, if they existed, had not been triggered. It occurred to him, briefly and without emphasis, that perhaps there were no alarm bells attached to this kind of change at all.